In 1989, Hong Kong was struck by a shocking and brutal mass murder that would come to be known as the Tang family massacre. The crime was committed by Kang He Tang, a man whose complex and troubled relationship with the victim spanned over a decade. The story behind the massacre is a tragic tale of love, betrayal, and simmering resentment, culminating in a violent outburst that took the lives of 4 individuals. Here, we examine the details of this chilling case, the events leading up to the murders, and the aftermath of the crime. A life in Hong Kong. Kang He Tang's story begins in the 1950s. Born in Mao, a small village in China, Tang moved to Hong Kong in 1953 at the age of 17, seeking work in the food and beverage industry. His new life in Hong Kong was initially one of hard work and determination, and by the 1970s, he had established himself at a restaurant where he worked for over a decade. It was at this restaurant that he met his first connection to the family, who would ultimately be his undoing. The first significant figure in Tang's life was a regular customer at the restaurant, an older woman named Zhang. Despite their age difference, Tang and Zhang became close friends, bonding over their frequent conversations. This friendship deepened when, in 1977, Zhang underwent surgery but was unable to afford the medical expenses. Tang, feeling a sense of duty and affection, paid for her remaining bills. This act of kindness further strengthened their bond, and Zhang soon introduced him to her daughter, Ling, and her 3-year-old granddaughter, Rong. Over time, Tang became a familiar presence in the family's life, even being asked to become Rong's godfather. Unbeknownst to Tang, this seemingly innocent connection would eventually lead him down a dark and tragic path. The granddaughter, Rong, was the 15-year-old girl found in the bathroom after the massacre, and Ling, Zhang's daughter, was the other victim. The two families, initially strangers, had been brought together by chance, but no one could foresee the horrifying events that would unfold years later. The relationship with Ling. As time passed, Tang's relationship with the family grew deeper, particularly his bond with Ling. In 1977, at the age of 41, Tang fell in love with Ling, who was 30 at the time. Despite their age difference, the two started dating, and after a year, they decided to marry. Tang, initially elated, believed this was the beginning of a new happy chapter in his life. However, soon after their marriage, Tang discovered that Ling had been hiding important aspects of her life. She had led him to believe that she was a single mother, raising her daughter on her own, but in reality, she was still married to Fang, a man whom she had never divorced. Furthermore, Ling had an older son, which Tang had not known about. The revelation left him feeling deceived, but despite this betrayal, Tang chose to forgive Ling and continue the relationship. Ling, in turn, suggested that Tang move into her family home, where she lived with her husband and children. Tang agreed, becoming a de facto servant in the household, working outside the home and doing domestic chores. Tang's role in the family was one of servitude, but it was a situation he accepted, believing it was the only way to stay close to Ling, Tang's biological son. In 1980, Tang and Ling's relationship took a surprising turn when Ling became pregnant. The child was Tang's, but to keep the secret from Fang, Ling asked Tang to move out temporarily. After the baby was born, Tang returned to the family home, where he resumed his role as a servant, now with the added joy of being a father to his biological son, Wan. Tang cherished these moments and recalled them as the happiest days of his life. He doted on his son, and when Wan turned 2, Tang even quit his main job to become a full-time caregiver, staying at home to look after the child. This arrangement continued until 1984, when Wan began preschool. However, this period of happiness was soon overshadowed by a shocking discovery. While reviewing Wan's school notebook, Tang saw that his son's surname was listed as Fang, not Tang. Ling had defied Tang's wishes and given their son her husband's surname, a decision that filled Tang with bitterness. But the real cause of Tang's growing resentment was not just the surname issue. It was the arrival of another man into their complicated relationship. The affair with Yang Ming. In 1984, Ling introduced Tang to a relative named Yang Ming. Initially, their interaction seemed innocent, but soon, Tang began to notice that Ling and Yang Ming were spending a lot of time together, often without Tang. It became apparent that their relationship was far from platonic, and Tang soon discovered that Ling had entered into a romantic affair with Yang Ming. At first, Tang tried to convince himself that it was merely a physical affair, but Ling's behavior grew increasingly brazen. She taunted him openly, making cruel remarks about Yang Ming, claiming that he was better in bed and younger than Tang. This betrayal was more than Tang could bear, and by 1987, he was devastated when news of the affair reached Ling's mother, Zhang. Zhang, who had been like a mother to Tang, tried to intervene, even threatening a hunger strike to protest Ling's actions. But Ling ignored her mother's pleas and continued the affair with Yang Ming. In 1987, Zhang passed away, leaving Tang devastated. Her death only deepened Tang's sense of powerlessness and betrayal. Despite all this, Tang continued to live in the home, enduring Ling's mistreatment and the ongoing affair. The final breakdown. By March 1989, Tang's life had become a powder keg of emotions. His feelings of betrayal had reached a boiling point. Ling had become increasingly open about her affair with Yang Ming, even displaying intimate photos of the two of them in the house. When Tang confronted her, Ling simply told him that she would no longer accompany him to Ma for their usual monthly visit, effectively ending their relationship. Tang, feeling rejected and discarded, refused to leave the home despite Ling's demand. This refusal to move out, combined with the emotional turmoil of the affair and his resentment over the situation with Wan's surname, led to a confrontation that would have catastrophic consequences. The day of the murders. On the morning of the murders, Tang's frustrations reached their breaking point. He woke up early, took Wan to school, and then went out for tea. In his role as a house servant, he went grocery shopping and returned home. When he arrived, Lin was furious to see that he had only bought fish and vegetables, neglecting to purchase offerings for Fang's birthday. In a fit of rage, Ling threw a bag of barbecue pork at him. This act of aggression set off an uncontrollable fury in Tang. He grabbed a nearby object and attacked Ling, beating her until she stopped moving. At that moment, Ling's eldest son, Wen, walked into the room and witnessed the attack. In a panic, Tang dragged Wen into a bedroom, where he was confronted with more violence. Wen retaliated by throwing a hot bowl of porridge at Tang, which only enraged him further. Using the same weapon he had used on Ling, Tang attacked Wen, rendering him unconscious. Ling regained consciousness and attempted to crawl away, but Tang wasn't finished. He attacked her again, ensuring that she would never move again. With both Ling and Wen dead, Tang turned his attention to the next victim. Rong, his goddaughter, returned home from school around 1:30 p.m. When she saw him cleaning the living room, she inexplicably kicked him. This seemingly trivial act sent Tang into another violent outburst, and he grabbed a hammer, attacking Rong until she too was dead. He dragged her body into the bathroom and resumed cleaning. By 2 p.m., Fang came home. Tang, emotionally drained and filled with guilt, confessed to Fang what he had done. Fang, in an apparent attempt to show compassion, suggested that they end their lives together. Tang couldn't bring himself to harm Fang, as their bond was still strong. But Fang, in a tragic act of desperation, picked up the hammer and struck himself in the head multiple times, taking his own life. The aftermath. After the murders, Tang went to great lengths to cover up the crime. He wrote a note on the wall, falsely implicating Yang Ming and signing it with Fang's name. He then took Wan to Ma, attempting to create an alibi. But Tang's carefully constructed story couldn't hide the truth forever. As the investigation unfolded, the authorities discovered the extent of the betrayal, the turmoil, and the shocking violence that had culminated in the deaths of 4 people. In November 1990, Tang was brought to trial, where he was charged with 4 counts of murder. However, he pleaded guilty to 3 counts of manslaughter, citing emotional distress and the breakdown of his relationship as contributing factors. The defense argued that Tang had been subjected to years of psychological and emotional strain, exacerbated by Ling's affair and his ongoing sense of betrayal. Despite his violent actions, the defense maintained that Tang's outburst was the result of years of pent-up frustration and emotional abuse. The jury's verdict ultimately spared Tang from a murder conviction, but the tragic consequences of his actions left a lasting scar on everyone involved. Tang's story serves as a grim reminder of how deep-seated emotional trauma and unresolved feelings can lead to unimaginable